repay them with the vineyard. And it's their responsibility to grow the grapes and harvest them and give them to the government. So they ensure that, otherwise they don't get a lease for their further mining. So I think there should be some kind of rule like this in Goa as well, because we are just wounding and raping the mountains in Goa with no solution.
Once you destroy the area, you have to rehabilitate that. You call something called mine closure plan. It is part of your conditions, and you have to actually do that. Apart from this, now the Government of India, also the Forest Department, has taken up a very big programs. Basically, it's called compensatory afforestation. A lot of funds which are given to the Ministry of Environment through the states are now given back to the states for rehabilitating those areas in terms of afforestation these areas. I think there are provisions, but how these provisions are being implemented, that's question.
Let me add another point to this. Definitely, the rules and the clearances state that the area has to be rehabilitated and restored. But there is a different agency, because the Government of India considers mineral as a wealth. Before closing the mine, Indian Bureau of Mines has to certify that all the marketable ore is exhausted. Now earlier, up to 55, 56 grade of ore was marketable, but now with improvement in technology, even the ore whose grade is as low as 66 is marketable. So the ore is not yet marketable, ore is not yet exhausted in the pit. So we cannot fill it as of now because again we not certified. So we are waiting for the exhaustion basically. So on one hand we consider mineral as a wealth also, on the other hand environment is again an important issue. So between this law, I think in the law we also have to incorporate sustainability as a factor. This is very important. Otherwise if you go by the law, no, we have to wait till the ore is exhausted, marketable ore is exhausted. I am sure things will fall in place in the process actually. Thank you.
We're talking about sustainability in mining and whether mining can be sustainable with a good afforestation program or rehabilitation program. But how can, the only difference after rehabilitating that site would be that the iron ore mining or the coal mining has been exhausted or the reserves have been exhausted. So how can we call that sustainable? Because we are exhausting our resources and the rate at which we are exhausting it is not happening.
I would like to slightly differ with my opinion. Somewhere I read the word sustainable is a myth. There is nothing as such which you can call as sustainable. The next question comes: sustainable for whom? Sustainable for biodiversity? Sustainable for the people who are mining? Or sustainable? What is sustainable? Is it the livelihood of the people who are there in the mining area? Now the question comes, probably before the mining started, I am not aware of the history. People must have been sustaining on biodiversity and the resources which are there, biodiversity resources. But later on, the sustainability for them, the livelihood for them has, the mining only has become the livelihood rather than biodiversity. So when we talk about sustainability, whose sustainability we are talking about? Sustainability of the biodiversity per se, or the sustainability of the people who are living there, their livelihood. Today the livelihood for them is mining. That's what they say. This is second. Or sustainability of the profit for the mine owners. So these are three different issues. These are contradicting each other. probably this is not the place to discuss that. We are actually talking about the climate change. Question is understood. And even among us, we will be differing in our perception. Because no one has the solution. No one has the solution. One thing you have to look at the people. Today they are on streets. On another side, as a biologist, I would say that everything has to be preserved, conserved. I am for that. But who is important? Which species is important? That is what everyone is asking. So, now you can come to your own conclusion. Thank you.
Now that you've opened the Pandora's box, as my fellow panelists rightly said, this is not the forum where we ought to have a discussion. I would only like to react to your query by saying that we would commit an error of judgment unless we accept that these notions of sustainability are sector specific. What is sustainable to the mining lobby may not be sustainable to the biologists sitting here. What is sustainable to us may not be pursued as something sustainable to some third sector. So, and ought to react to what this young gentleman asked in terms of mining going hand in hand with environmental concerns. Once again, let me make you aware, and I'm sure you know this, that a mineral ore is primarily a non-renewable resource. That is, when you speak of forest, it's very much renewable or at least potentially renewable. I think the flaws lie in the way regulatory processes go on. Wherein in books we have excellent legislations, we have some of the finest acts. The whole issue is whether these are being implemented in letter and spirit. Like we all know, we have something called the EIA, procedure. But then we also know that most of the EIAs are sham documents. They're only meant to facilitate the project proponents, the enterprise. So if we all kind of take care to make sure that these, bottlenecks exist very much in terms of not allowing these violations to happen. These are primarily statutory bottlenecks so that people don't escape the laws, the statutes, the statutory provisions. I mean, if you look at the whole notion of what is sustainable, what is not, what is legal and what is not legal, it's all got to do with that threshold beyond which everything seems unsustainable or illegal. And ultimately, the question that I would like to throw back at you is, when you have so much ore in your earth, the valuation of the ore is only in its exploration and exploitation, provided it does not violate the limits of sustainability. I mean, what sense does it make to boast of iron ore deposits when if you're not able to, again, let me muster courage to use the word sustainably exploit. And that's when she questions, and rightly so, what is sustainable? As I say, it's a relative perception, and that therefore all stakeholders need to come together and accept. The most acceptable notion of sustainability is the issue. It's not whether this is legal, that is illegal, whether this is acceptable and that's not. I mean, heart in heart, we all know that a large chunk of people in the hinterland definitely depend on mining. Can we, refute that sort of an image? See what's happening today. We are trapped in our own, notions of what should happen and what should not happen. Of course, again, reverting back to what is it, this has more to do with policy making, and it would not be fair on our part to comment. But yes, that's what I thought I would do.
I think I have something to say. There are two questions indirectly raised in the discussion. One is kind of a responsibility for maintenance, in the sense that if you look at the developed countries, maybe European countries and possibly US, the land is cheaper and the maintenance cost is very, very high. You can really have large land, but the maintenance the rules are so rigid that nobody will go for such a large land. Whereas in India, you can have, and you can use whatever way. You can also allow somebody to dump the waste. So there's a problem that we have the rules, we are not following the rules. Okay, so that's one part. Now come to the mining in Goa. Everybody is of course keen now that they like to know more about when the mining will start, or the other group when the mining should not start, and all that complexity. We are talking now sustainability. I mean, I think it's a little difficult task to, when you really think of the sustainability after doing all possible illegal, and then you have destroyed the whole house, and now we are talking about sustainability. I mean, it's a serious thing. Okay? It's nice to also mention that at least I am closely associated with the mining activities, looking at the whole process of mining since 1980s or so. There was a stage where the sustainability word possibly was holding very strong, in the sense that the mining, it was defined so much of quantity of ore should be mined every year, and it should be also exported. So much is exported, so much is used for internal. But in between, something wrong has happened. We will not think what wrong has happened. I think we are not going to be answerable for such a problem. But the problem in real sense is the system has actually responsible for destroying the mining areas. So sustainability word, it's difficult to fit in. Just now our colleagues over here in the panel talked about earlier the human was involved with the biodiversity, or involved in this one, she was living with biodiversity. Later is mining is much faster earning, so the person has shifted towards mining. Sustainability at that particular time, including the maintenance of biodiversity, earning lesser, maintenance also of the surrounding, sustainability was meaningful. We possibly have forgotten everything about biodiversity. We are trying to make money more faster. We have done that. Now we have destroyed everything. Now we have to think about sustainability. It's very, very difficult to accept that everything has happened, whatever has happened, the word came there, whatever has happened, but can we go for sustainability? I think it's very difficult to accept that sustainability with the present scenario of mining, word of sustainability cannot fit in.
Mr. Chair, this issue of sustainability and otherwise now is discussed. But sustainability goes with the livelihood security. Unless you are secure your food and bread and butter, you can say, sustainability has no meaning. You say in, for example, agriculture. You compare the state of Goa with other states. In Goa, hardly less than 16% people are dependent on agriculture. So, because they have some other areas like mining, that other issues also. So, the sustainability goes with the all security only. So, unless you have some options other to have your own security about your livelihood, sustainability will be also bent in that direction only. Thank you very much.
Yesterday one of the speakers, Mr. Nandakumar Kanwal, he mentioned something called backyard biodiversity documentation. He was talking about biodiversity. Now, I want to know to what extent activities like construction or artificial plantations or exotic species, introducing exotic species maybe in the gardens or landscaping, to what extent does that hamper, reduce biodiversity, and whether it has any effect at all on the climate change?
The last word first. We don't have record here in Goa to say anything about the climate changes affected. This is first part. Second, certainly introduced species have affected the biodiversity. For example, what you call Ranmai, deep Bromelina, botanically they call. Wherever open areas are there in the periphery of the forest, that is the one to occupy. That means if the tree is cut, if this goes and occupies, whatever seed which is there in the soil of the forestry is not going to germinate. So if you go by this logic, as and when the trees even naturally falling within the forest, from the periphery, this will be going on occupying. This is first. Coming to the areas like even this plateau, we have a lot of endemic species, they are all herbs. They survive on these plateaus because there is less competition for them. So they survive. Now there is many times what happens in the name of going green. We go in a very haphazard way in planting trees. Wherever it is possible, I used to tell the people that you don't go for tree plantation on these plateaus. Because during rainy season, they have several hundred species which come only during rainy season. The rest of the season, the whole area may appear very barren. But these are all endemic. They are not present anywhere else. They don't come in your paddy fields. They don't come in your forests. They come only in this kind of rocky, barren areas. Our experience shows that wherever we have planted within our campus, university campus, wherever the shade is there, newly the shade creating trees have been planted, they don't come up. This is very interesting in the sense, many times we feel that greenery is only planting trees. We should not look that way. Biodiversity is all encompassing, including microorganisms, small annual plants, which may not be there throughout the year, which may be there for only a month or so, or 15 days. That is also part of biodiversity. So putting all these things together, to your question, I can say that yes, it affects. One, exotic species are affected. Two, but there is no clear evidence to show that it is linked to the climate change. Though elsewhere, there are evidences to show that yes, climate change did trigger all these things.
To tell you about the marine environment also, if you have an invasive species or a new species coming in, like I explained about the Portuguese man of war, that organism devours all the phytoplanktons and zooplanktons. And it's the theory of survival of the fittest there. It has come from somewhere into that environment, but it destroys the other species around it, starts endeavoring the phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, and it has affected the primary productivity, because this is the food for the food web, yes. Yes. So in the marine ecosystem, that also has created a lot of havoc. I mean, a new species coming in causes detrimental effects.
Actually, you could have seen this in Karamboli Lake, mostly occupied by a single species of one plant which is floating. Salvinia. Once it occurs, it's an exotic species which has come, which is spreading as a weed. Once it occupies, all the local species are gone, and it covers the surface, and whatever is there beneath the water, all of them may not be surviving properly. Then it is difficult for the birds also to do the normal activities. Of course, it has gone to court has given direction, it has been cleaned a couple of times, all those things have been done. So there are a lot of evidences here, but not definitely linked to climate change.
I think we have come to an end. I'll just give a final remark and about the panel discussion. It is after listening to the eminent panelists, I feel that climate change is so complex as human himself. It is very, very difficult till today to understand human. At the same time, it's also becoming so complex to understand the climate change. Climate change, as Professor Janathanam said, it's real. It is happening. Though unfortunately, we have not been able to say that yes, climate change in Goa is affecting on biodiversity. Unfortunately, we do not have that data to say substantiate. But also, it is opportunity for all of us as an academician from the university, apex body which is supposed to do a research, at the same time also educate the young generation, should indeed take this initiative, at least documenting the diversity of life that we have, and also a study about the impact of climate change. Professor Janathanam said, and it's very interesting, to see, and I see, like, to see a Swarga, we need not to die, actually. If you die, that means you know whether you are going to Naraka or you are going to Swarga. It is difficult, actually. Nobody knows, actually. Yeah? You go to crematorium only, that much, and even that also you do not know whether you are going to crematorium or you are being thrown into the ocean. Nobody knows that. This is same similar situation that we have. Scientists are also puzzled. Scientists also do not know whether climate change is real. There are a lot of two way of thoughts. Some group of scientists say that it's not. Climate change is not happening. Some groups say yes, climate change is happening. It's like, life is, as I said, that life is so complex. We also make issues so complex so that every time we keep on discussing, but we hardly come to any conclusion. But I think it is today we need to come to a conclusion so as to see, to protect the diversity of life means protecting the human race. Human race is selfish.